My girlfriend Rachel said to me, "I just wish you were more like him," about another guy during our anniversary dinner. On the night I thought I was showing her how much I loved her, the look in her eyes when she said it, like she was genuinely disappointed in who I am as a person. I am Ethan, 32. Mechanical engineer here in Pittsburgh. Rachel and I have been together 4 years, living together for 2 in this cozy apartment in Lawrenceville. I thought we were solid, you know. We do Steelers games together. I fix things around the house. She loves her Instagram food posts and comparing restaurant trends. Simple life. But I thought we were genuinely happy. I mean, we had our routines. Saturday mornings at the Strip District Farmers Market, Sunday afternoon projects where I would build something and she would organize our space. She would curl up next to me while I worked on my laptop doing freelance consulting. I thought that was, our thing. So for our anniversary, I planned this whole night at Bella Notte, the little Italian place where we had our first date 4 years ago. I am talking weeks of planning here, guys. Made reservations for the exact same table where we sat that first night. Got her this silver bracelet with both our names engraved in this delicate script font she loves. Cost me 3 weeks of overtime, but it wasn't about the money, it was about the meaning, the thought behind it. I even wore the blue button-down she bought me last Christmas. The one she said made my eyes look amazing. I was so excited to give her that bracelet. I had been carrying it around for days, checking the box every few hours to make sure it was perfect. We are halfway through dinner. She is wearing the bracelet and keeps looking at it. And everything seems perfect. She is laughing at my stories about work. I am making her smile by doing that stupid Italian accent she always teases me about. I am thinking this is exactly how anniversary dinners should go. Then she pulls out her phone. At first I thought maybe she was taking a picture of us or the food. She does that a lot. But instead, she shows me this Instagram story. It is Connor, this guy she went to college with who is now some hotshot investment banker in Manhattan. He just surprised his girlfriend with a private trip to Napa Valley, full helicopter ride, private vineyard tour, staying at some resort that probably costs more per night than I make in a week. Rachel stares at the screen for like a full minute. I am sitting there watching her face change, watching her get that distant look she gets sometimes when she is scrolling through social media. Then she really looks at me and says, "That is effort. That is showing love." I am confused. So I gesture around the restaurant and say, "What do you mean? Are you not happy with tonight?" I thought this place meant something to us. She glances at the bracelet on her wrist, then back at her phone. "It is sweet, Ethan. It really is. But look at this." She turns the phone toward me again. "This is how you show someone they matter to you." My stomach started dropping. "Rachel, what are you saying exactly?" And that is when she said it. "I just wish you were more like him." I felt like I got punched in the stomach and had the wind knocked out of me at the same time. I am sitting there holding her hand across the table, the hand wearing the bracelet I spent weeks picking out, and she is basically telling me I am not enough. On our anniversary, in the restaurant where we fell in love, I asked, "So I am not enough for you?" 4 years, and I am still not enough. She didn't even deny it, just shrugged, actually shrugged, and said, "I just think you could want more for yourself. For us, don't you want to be able to do things like this?" She waved the phone at me. "I want to be able to take you places that matter. I want to be proud of what we are building together, and you are not proud of what we have." Another shrug. "I am proud of you, but I just think we could do better, that we hit different. Like she was including herself in my supposed failure to be good enough." I paid the bill, left cash because I didn't want to wait for the card to process, stood up, and said, "Enjoy the rest of your night." And I walked out. Left her sitting there at our anniversary dinner with her phone and her fantasy of someone else's life. I drove around for 2 hours before I could even face going home. When I finally got back to our apartment, she wasn't there. Came home at like 1 a.m. and tried to act like nothing happened. I have been staying at my buddy Dylan's place since then. Rachel keeps texting saying, I am being dramatic and that we need to talk. "You just left me there and you are acting like a child, and I never said I didn't love you." But here is the thing. This wasn't the first time she has compared me to Connor, or to other guys. It has been building for months, and I think I was just too blind to see it. At barbecues, she had point out his success. At parties, she would mention his car, his apartment, his lifestyle, always followed by these little comments about my potential or how I could do more if I wanted to. How I was settling for less than I deserved, which really meant less than she deserved. She started following a bunch of lifestyle Instagram accounts, always showing me posts about power couples and relationship goals. Always men in expensive suits with women in designer dresses. Doing things that cost more money than I make in 6 months. Am I overreacting here? Should I have stayed and talked it out? Because right now, I feel like I was dating someone who fundamentally doesn't respect who I am. Someone who is measuring our relationship against other people's highlight reels and finding us lacking. Part of me wonders if I should have fought harder for us. Tried to explain that love isn't about Instagram stories and expensive trips. But another part of me is relieved that the constant background noise of not being enough has finally stopped. Reddit, what would you do? Am I throwing away 4 years over one bad night? Or was this the wake-up call I needed, that I was never going to be enough for someone who didn't actually want me? Update 1, it began 6 months ago at my coworker's backyard barbecue. Rachel met Connor. There turns out they knew each other from college but hadn't seen each other in years. He was visiting Pittsburgh for work, some big banking conference, and he showed up to this casual cookout in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I watched Rachel's face light up in a way I hadn't seen in years. She hung on every word as he told stories about his Manhattan lifestyle. Designer everything. Expensive restaurants 3 nights a week, weekend trips to the Hamptons, spontaneous flights to Miami. Just because, the way he talked about money like it was nothing, like dropping $500 on dinner was the same as me buying coffee. But it wasn't just the money stuff that captivated her. It was the confidence, the way he commanded attention in every conversation. He would make these subtle cutting remarks about Pittsburgh, calling it charming in a way that sounded like an insult, talking about how he could never go back to small-town thinking. And Rachel ate it up. I remember standing there holding a beer, wearing my Steelers jersey, listening to this guy basically insult my city and my lifestyle while my girlfriend nodded along like he was speaking gospel. When we got home that night, she was quiet for a long time. Then she asked, "Don't you ever want to do more with your life?" I said, "I am happy where I am at. Good job, good relationship, good friends. I get to work on projects I care about, live in a city I love. What more do I need?" She just said, "Okay," but I could tell it wasn't really okay. She had this look, like she was seeing me differently all of a sudden. From then on, Connor became this invisible third person in our relationship. She followed him on every social platform, started showing me his posts constantly, his new BMW. Apparently he trades up every 2 years, his downtown loft with floor-to-ceiling windows, his vacation photos from Europe where he had just casually mentioned spending a week in Tuscany for work. The comparisons started small, and I thought they were innocent. Connor just got promoted again. He is VP now. Look at this restaurant Connor went to. Have you ever seen a place like this? Connor's planning to buy property in the city, investment property. Then they got more personal. You know, Connor's really ambitious. He is already planning his next career move. I bet Connor would love a challenge like that engineering project you are working on. Connor always dresses so professionally, even on weekends. That last one hurt because I would catch her looking at my clothes differently after she said it. I started noticing she would bring him up whenever I was feeling good about something. Got a raise at work? That is great. Connor just bought a Tesla. Did you see his story? Fixed our kitchen sink myself instead of calling a plumber. Nice work. Connor hired a contractor to renovate his whole kitchen. You should see the before and after photos. My friends started noticing too. Dylan pulled me aside after a game night and said, "Dude, she brings up that Connor guy constantly. It is weird. Like every conversation somehow comes back to what he is doing or what he has." But I kept thinking it would pass, that she was just going through some phase of comparing our life to others, maybe some social media-induced thing that would blow over. I tried being more romantic, planning more dates. Even looked into some professional development courses thinking maybe she wanted me to be more ambitious. Nothing worked. The comparisons kept coming, and they got more specific. She started pointing out things about our apartment. Connor's place has such clean lines, very modern. She would say this while looking at my handmade bookshelves like they were suddenly embarrassing. She started commenting on my car. Connor says German cars are just built better. Better investment too. My Honda Civic that I bought new and have maintained perfectly for 6 years suddenly became a source of shame. She started questioning my work. Do you think you could ever do consulting, like Connor does? The travel seems exciting, like my steady engineering job that I actually love was somehow beneath our social aspirations. The breaking point wasn't even the anniversary dinner. It was 3 days before that. I had spent my entire Saturday building her these custom floating shelves for her book collection, handmade from reclaimed wood, perfectly fitted to our wall dimensions. With hidden LED lighting I wired myself. They were gorgeous, way better than anything you would buy in a store, and completely customized to her book sizes and the room's aesthetic. I was so proud of them, spent weeks planning the design, sourcing the wood, measuring everything twice. She seemed excited when I was building them, bringing me coffee and asking questions about the process. She posted a picture of them on Instagram with this caption: "My talented boyfriend made these custom shelves for my book collection." Within an hour, she showed me Connor's response. "Nice. I just had a designer do my whole living room. You should see the built-ins they installed: floor-to-ceiling, integrated sound system, climate-controlled for my rare book collection. Worth every penny for real craftsmanship." She stared at his comment for a long time. Then she looked at my shelves, then at his response, then at me. "These are really nice, Ethan. But imagine what a professional could do, you know? Like, if we had the budget for real custom work." That is when it hit me like a freight train. I wasn't competing with Connor. I was competing with a fantasy. This perfect life she had built up in her head, where she was dating someone better. Someone who could afford to hire designers instead of building things himself. Someone who collected rare books instead of reading paperbacks from the library. Someone who had a budget for custom work instead of a boyfriend who did the work himself. My handmade shelves, which I thought showed love and effort and skill, were suddenly just evidence of what we couldn't afford to buy. After the anniversary disaster, I moved my stuff out while she was at work. Left a note saying I needed space to think. She came home and immediately started blowing up my phone. The texts were illuminating. At first it was, "You are being childish, and we need to talk like adults." When I didn't respond, it became, "I never said you weren't enough, and you are twisting my words. I was just sharing what I saw." But then, when she realized I was serious about staying away, the real truth came out. "I just want us to have more." Is that so wrong? Connor shows me what is possible if you really apply yourself. I see what other couples our age are accomplishing, and I want that for us. I am not asking you to be someone else. I am asking you to be the best version of yourself. Connor just has this drive, this ambition. I wish you wanted success the way he does. There it was. After 4 years together, I would become the settling option while she fantasized about someone else's life, someone else's drive, someone else's success. I am not saying I am perfect. Maybe I could be more ambitious in terms of career advancement. Maybe I could make more money. Maybe I could want more material things. But I am a good man. I am loyal. I am kind. I work hard at something I am passionate about. I love deeply and consistently, and that should be enough for someone who claims to love me back. The thing is, I actually am ambitious, just not about the things Connor's ambitious about. I am ambitious about doing good work that matters. I am ambitious about building things with my hands that last. I am ambitious about having genuine relationships and being part of a community. I am ambitious about learning new skills and helping other people. But none of that looks impressive on Instagram. I haven't blocked her, but I muted all her notifications. The silence is peaceful, honestly. No more constant reminders of how I am not measuring up to some arbitrary standard I never agreed to compete for. Connor, by the way. He is visiting Pittsburgh again next week. She told Dylan's girlfriend. Who told Dylan? Who told me? I have a feeling I know where this is headed, and honestly, part of me hopes she gets exactly what she thinks she wants. I am starting to realize it is not my circus anymore. The weird thing is, without that constant background noise of not being enough, I am starting to remember who I actually am. I am getting back into projects I had abandoned, calling friends I had lost touch with, thinking about goals that are actually mine instead of goals I thought I should have. Update 2: Rachel is officially with Connor now. Has been for about 3 weeks. Instagram made it Facebook official: rooftop bars in Manhattan, expensive dinners, weekend trips to New York. All the stuff she used to show me on his profile like it was some unattainable dream. Now she is living it and posting about it. I am not gonna lie, the first few photos hit like a punch to the gut. Not because I wanted her back, but because it confirmed everything I had been feeling. I was never the problem with our relationship. I was the placeholder until something better came along. But here is what is crazy. I don't feel angry anymore. I feel free. I have been staying with Dylan and his girlfriend Sarah. They have been incredible, but more importantly, they have helped me see how toxic things had gotten. Sarah said something that really stuck. Faithin, you used to light up when you talked about your projects, your work, your interests. This last year, you only talked about what you weren't doing right. She was right. I had stopped talking about the custom motorcycle I was restoring, the freelance consulting work I had picked up, the volunteer coaching I do for the local high school robotics team, all the things that make me me. Rachel never asked about any of that stuff because it wasn't Instagram worthy enough. So I started leaning back into it. Hit the gym consistently for the first time in years. Started playing pickup basketball at the community center. Got back into my motorcycle project. Turns out when you are not constantly being told you should want more, you can actually enjoy what you are working on. The freelance consulting thing has exploded too. Turns out, when you are not spending all your mental energy trying to measure up to someone else's boyfriend, you have bandwidth for actual productive work. I have got 3 clients now, and one's talking about bringing me on full-time. The loneliness hits sometimes, especially in the evenings. 4 years of shared routines don't just disappear, but there is something powerful about silence, after months of background noise telling you are not enough. Here is the kicker: my friend Mike works downtown, and he has been seeing Rachel and Connor around the city. According to him, Connor is not who she thought he was. Apparently, Connor treats service workers like garbage, talks down to everyone, and makes cutting comments for sport. Mike saw them at dinner last week and said Connor spent the entire meal critiquing everything and telling Rachel how Pittsburgh was trying too hard to be something it is not. Another friend, Jessica, ran into them at coffee. Connor was on his phone the whole time while Rachel tried to get his attention. When she mentioned wanting to visit the Carnegie Museum, he apparently said, "Faye, why would you waste time on local art? It is probably not worth seeing if it is not in a real city." The guy she thought was so sophisticated and ambitious. He is just arrogant. And mean. Look, I am not sitting here hoping they break up so I can swoop back in. That ship has sailed. But there is something satisfying about watching someone get exactly what they asked for and realizing it is not what they wanted. Meanwhile, I am rediscovering parts of myself I had forgotten about. Started taking that welding class at the community college I had been talking about for years but never had the time for. I am also considering this consulting opportunity that would let me work remotely and travel. Something I never would have pursued while trying to build the stable, traditional life Rachel wanted. The best part, I am remembering what it feels like to be around people who actually like me for who I am. Dylan and Sarah, my coworkers, the guys from basketball, none of them think I need to be more like someone else. I don't know what is next. Maybe I will stay in Pittsburgh. Maybe I will chase that consulting opportunity to different cities. But for the first time in months, those decisions feel like mine to make. No more constant scoreboard. No more wondering if I am enough. No more competing with fantasies and Instagram posts. Just me, figuring out what I actually want instead of what I am supposed to want. Final update. Hey Reddit, time for the final chapter of this saga. And honestly, it has got an ending I never saw coming. First, let me address the obvious question. Yes, Rachel reached out. About a month ago, I got the text I think we all knew was coming. "I think I made a mistake. Can we talk?" I read it. I didn't reply. 2 days later, "Please, Ethan. I know you are angry, but I miss us." Still nothing from me. A week after that, "Connor isn't who I thought he was. You were right about everything." I actually laughed at that one. Not mean-spirited. Just the absurdity of it all. She spent months convincing me I wasn't enough, left me for the fantasy guy, and now wanted to come back because reality didn't match Instagram. But here is what actually happened that changed everything. I met someone. Her name's Claire. She is 28, works as a nurse at UPMC, and I met her at the gym where I have been working out. Not some dramatic movie moment. She just asked if I was done with the squat rack. We started talking about the Steelers, and somehow ended up grabbing coffee after our workout. No fireworks, no instant soulmate connection. Just ease, comfortable conversation, shared jokes, the kind of steady presence that makes you realize how exhausting drama actually is. We have been seeing each other for about 6 weeks now. Taking it slow, no pressure, no rushing into anything serious. She knows about Rachel. I know about her ex who moved to California for work. We are just two people getting to know each other without baggage dictating the pace. But here is the thing about Claire, she has never once made me feel like I should be different. When I told her about my motorcycle project, she asked to see it. When I mentioned the robotics coaching, she thought it was cool that I volunteered with kids. When I cooked dinner at my new place, yeah, I got my own apartment finally. She didn't compare it to some restaurant she saw online. She just appreciated it. Appreciated me. I had forgotten what that felt like. So last weekend, Dylan threw his annual summer barbecue, same crowd as last year, including some mutual friends with Rachel. I brought Claire, introduced her around, had a genuinely good time. About 2 hours in, Rachel showed up. Alone. The room got quiet for a hot second. You know how it is when everyone knows the drama but nobody wants to acknowledge it. Rachel looked around, saw me with Claire, and I watched her face change. Claire, bless her, immediately understood the situation. She squeezed my hand and said quietly, "I am going to grab us some drinks and let you handle this. No drama, no possessiveness, just giving me space to deal with my past." Rachel approached looking different, smaller, somehow less confident than the woman who used to scroll through Connor's Instagram and point out everything I wasn't. "Hi, Ethan." "Hey, Rachel, she seems nice." Nodding toward Claire, "She is. I have been trying to reach you." "I know." Long pause. Then, "Connor and I, it didn't work out. I figured he wasn't who I thought he was. He was actually kind of cruel. I didn't say anything. What was I supposed to say?" "I told you so." "Sorry, your fantasy imploded." Then she said, "I was stupid, Ethan. You were a good man, and I threw it away for something that wasn't even real." And for a second, I felt bad for her. Because she was right, she had thrown away something real for a fantasy. And now she was dealing with the consequences. But then she kept talking. "So this is why you ignored me, because you found someone else." The tone was familiar, that edge of accusation, like I would somehow wronged her by moving on with my life. I looked across the yard at Claire, who was chatting with Sarah and laughing at something Dylan said. She fit in effortlessly, not because she was trying to impress anyone, but because she was just being herself. Then I looked back at Rachel. This is why I stopped trying to be someone else." Her face crumpled a little. "What does that mean?" "It means I spent months changing myself to try to be enough for you. And it was never going to work, because the problem wasn't me. The problem was that you didn't want me, you wanted some fantasy version of me that looked like someone else. That is not Rachel. You told me you wished I was more like another man." On our anniversary, while wearing a bracelet I had had engraved with our names. If that is not wanting someone else, I don't know what is. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I am sorry. I really am. I know you are. And I hope you figure out what you actually want instead of just wanting what looks good on Instagram." I started to walk away, then turned back. "For what it is worth, I hope you find someone who makes you happy being yourself. Everyone deserves that." And that was it. No screaming, no dramatic confrontation, no movie-worthy comebacks. Just the end of a chapter I had been ready to close for months. Claire appeared at my side a few minutes later with 2 beers and a knowing smile. "You okay?" "Yeah, I really am." We stayed for another hour, played some cornhole, laughed with friends, acted like normal people at a normal barbecue, Because that is what we are, normal people living a real life instead of performing for social media. I don't know if Claire and I will work out long term. Maybe we will. Maybe we will not. But I know this. I am not going to change myself to try to be enough for someone again. I am not going to compete with fantasies or Instagram posts, or someone else's definition of success. I am just going to be me. And if that is not enough for someone, they are not the right someone. Rachel texted me once more after the barbecue. "You look happy," I replied. "I am. And you know what? Reddit? I really am."